Welcome to Gym Owner Freedom. I am Scott Carpenter, and I am a former broke, struggling, frustrated, and overworked gym owner that felt stuck no matter what I did to try and improve the business. Once I realized that the answer wasn't what I thought it was, just getting more clients, and after really doing the math on acquisition and churn rates, I realized I wasn't even playing a winnable game to begin with. With my current price structure, mathematically, there was no way I could afford to pay my staff so I could scale up and out of the business, that I can have the time, the money, the impact, and the freedom that I always knew I was capable of. Once I learned how to add value by selling transformational programs to people who needed more than just workouts, everything changed in my life. Today, I own 6 gyms that all run without me, and I am free to pursue my passion projects and work just because I love to, not because I have to. And if that's a goal that we mutually share together, then this is the show for you. I'm going to teach you the framework to make way more money with less clients and open up a world of possibilities to you. Subscribe, leave a review, and tune in every week. It'll change your life. I promise you that. So today, what we're going to go over on this live training is how to hire the right people and keep them for a lifetime. I know I hear it all the time. This is what we always struggle with as gym owners, is it's really hard to find good people, and it's really hard to hold on to them. And it is the number one thing that we can do to make our jobs easier and move ahead is people. So for those of you coming on first time, so you guys know that what we teach is not theory, okay? I'm very transparent with everything. With our gym profit and loss statements, I'm transparent with my personal investments and everything I'm building to create this lifestyle. I went through hell and back in my first 5 to 6 years of gym ownership. It was not pretty, nearly lost everything a couple different times. But then I was able to retire from my gyms. I have multiple gyms now. I was able to retire from them in my late 30s after I figured it out. The whole point of us going through these lives and learning at these different levels is so you can have this lifestyle too. And again, I'll share not just the gym stuff, but what do I do with the profits? What do I do for my investments, real estate, to show that, listen, if I can become a decamillionaire in 5 investments, with what I have set up, it's going to happen for you too. So my job is to share with you what I've done. I want you to bring you along to it. There's 3 steps to it, really. Big, sexy profits. Okay, your gym's got to make the money. Then you take that money and you shield it to earn a return safely. And then when you're ready, you deploy that in assets that make you money. It's as simple as that. Today's training on finding the right people and keeping them for a lifetime, it falls into step 1, big, sexy profits. And hey, you can do really well when you're working full time in there. Absolutely. But you can do better and get leverage when you build your team. It's very important. And you can't do everything yourself. You just can't. It's impossible. And what I get asked a lot too is like, hey, how do you handle everything that you have going on? Because there is a lot. Like I've got my 6 gyms, right? A new startup, one that just is in Mesa, Arizona. I'm running PT Legends, right? Where I help all of you guys. Greenlight Personal Training. It's a franchise business. It's the done for you model of this kind of stuff. I host a podcast. I'm writing my 2nd book now. I've got 5+ million in real estate investments. I write infinite banking policies, which is a great investment strategy. I compete in historical fencing. That's what this graphic is for. Like, why are there a bunch of nerds with swords? I travel and compete in historical fencing tournaments. Freaking love it. I have acquired multiple businesses with things that I enjoy where I can add value. I have a wife and 2 young kids, and I travel and speak at events. The only way, legitimately, the only way even a quarter of that is possible, not even, it's people. I am nothing by myself. And on this call, you got Dave. Dave is my partner. He was an independent personal trainer, right, that I had met when I acquired a 2nd gym. He became a GM, then he became a partner. Let me show you how that's possible. Dave now co-owns a few gyms with me, and he's the co-owner of PT Legends too. I could not have done this without him. Josh is on this call too. He's really the glue behind everything in PT Legend. The guy has years and years and years of talent. He's a genius. PT Legends and our coaching program could not be what it is without Josh, right? And these are just 2, but people, it's everything. And it's not just the results and where you're going with it. Guys, it's entrepreneurship is fucking lonely. It's just lonely as hell. Years ago, I started getting these, these gyms right, and they started making money, but it was like I'm the only one along on this journey, and it's still lonely even if you're winning. And I can tell you what, your biggest opportunities, your biggest investments, your biggest growth is going to come from other people on your team and outside of your team. You need to get involved in groups doing bigger things. That's how you're going to learn, find out, be inspired, and you're going to need to collect people to do this. We're all stronger together when we pool our resources to do something much bigger than ourselves. And it's all about the people. Like in the upper left and right, those are guys running the gyms, right? It's cool. We get to go out to steak restaurants and celebrate and hand out awards. In the center, this is everybody in our not everybody in our mastermind, but a few of the people in our PT Legends mastermind that we get to for events in person, which is fantastic. In the lower left, that's some of the PT Legends team. In the lower right, it's the green light team. It's people. And so if you want to move forward, if you want to do big things, you can't just do it all yourself. You're going to need to build a team. And the art of it is, how do you kind of make sure everybody gets what they want and they can fulfill their dreams under the same umbrella? And when you do that, everything changes. So I want to share a little bit about that. It's really about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus, all moving in the same direction. You got to have the right people, but they also have to be in the right seats. Josh, we recently just changed your role in PT Legends because we realized we're wasting your talent with what we had you do. It was a total waste of Josh Price. Right person, right bus, but shit, we've got you in the wrong role. And we do that a lot. We do that a lot inside of our gyms. We want somebody to handle nutrition coaching or sales, and they're just not a good fit, right? And you got to get the right people in the right seats. That's really important. So let's take a look at, and real quick, I would love to see, drop it in the chat, how many people are on your team, including yourself? I would really want to know that. Is it one, meaning it's only you? Or do you have a second, third, fourth, fifth? 4, Andy. 3, Kevin. 3. Awesome. This is good. Keep it coming. Drop it in there because I can really customize what we talk about to you guys. Chad's got 6. Excellent. Dave, you can shout it out too if people are on the Facebook version, not the Zoom version. But this is really good. Okay, so there are basically 4 main roles for us as gym owners. There is sales. Okay, these are not positions necessarily, there's roles. So somebody's got to do sales, right? If you do a kind of a mentorship, nutrition coaching, we do a high ticket mentorship, right? It requires somebody to do weekly check-ins. You're going to need that, okay? So sales, the mentorship or nutrition coaching. Number 3 is somebody to do the delivery of the workouts. Okay. Some of you call them trainers, some of you call them coaches, but there's the actual fulfillment and delivery of the workouts. And then the 4th role is just admin. That's it. I mean, let's not overcomplicate this stuff. Those are really the 4 things that you need to be doing. And admin, if admin is a really big role, you're probably doing it wrong. It should take very little time per week. And it doesn't mean you need a separate person for all these. Some people are just going to do one role, right? Like Kim at Desert Ridge, Dave. She wants nothing to do with 1. She wants nothing to do with 2. She wants nothing to do with 4. She just wants to show up and give workouts. And this is where a lot of us go wrong. It's like, hey, you've got the potential. You could do it, but they don't want to do it. Or they're not capable of doing it. It's not in their wheelhouse. They're not really good at it. That's an example of you trying to force them into a wrong seat. And it just doesn't work out well. So the cool thing is, some of our locations we can run with just 2 or 3 people because of the way we have it structured. Some of them might just be doing the workouts. Some of them might be doing the rest of it. But bottom line is, try to make sure you're not aligning somebody into a role that they don't want. Okay. That's a big thing. So there's also what some people call a GM or a fitness director. We call it the mayor. This is the all-important role. For a lot of you guys that are still working a lot in your gyms, you might be the mayor. The mayor is somebody that walks around, shakes hands, kisses babies. It's super important. The mayor's probably doing a little bit of everything here. They're probably one doing the sales. They're probably one overseeing the fulfillment, making sure people are on track with their goals and the mentorship, right? If you have that. They may be doing some of the delivery at workouts. If your business is lower revenue, there probably are. As it gets higher revenue, they're probably doing less of it. Okay. And the admin, right? Doing some of the reporting. For a lot of the owner operators, the mayor is you. And it's kind of the linchpin because sales, keeping people happy, customer service, all that kind of stuff is very important. They're the ones who go around. They should have a personality. They should, when they walk into the door, these are the people that should spend 5 minutes connecting with everybody in there, saying, oh, how's it going? How's your daughter? This, that, the other, right? All those kind of things, just adding value to not just the trainers or not just the clients, but also the employees. They should be the one that's just shaking hands, kissing baby, making people feel good. Chances are, if you're not fully out of your gym, that's you. You might not be doing the delivery of the workouts, but maybe the other stuff. So the mayor is really important. And if you want to step out of your business to do a second location or to do online coaching or to move off and do another business, you're going to need to replace yourself in that mayor role. That's what I've done. With all my locations, I don't work in any of them. It's tricky to do that. It's got to be the right person. Some of you aren't there yet, no worries. But if you have higher aspirations, multiple locations or something else, we've got to get somebody else in that mayor role. That will make or break you. This is a good mayor. This is a bad mayor. Okay. I had this literally with walking around with alcohol, not literally inside of the gym, but literally destroy 2 locations that I had to raise from the dead because I had the wrong person and it was a disaster. The good news with this stuff, guys, I've literally made every single mistake. I've made mistake on salaries, pay, this, that, the other. I've managed by abdication and just hoping somebody does it. Like, it's got to be done the right way, or else what happens, and this happens to all of us, because there's only one way to learn from some of these mistakes. You've likely made a lot of them before. You've likely put out a salary thinking that would be amazing. I would appreciate that. And then all of a sudden their productivity drops like a rock. That can happen. Not to everybody, but it can happen. So my goal is like, can I help prevent you make some of these awful, horrible mistakes that have totally screwed me in the past? If so, it's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can save. I nearly went bankrupt when that one guy exploded 2 locations. It was a horrible point in my life. My son was 1 year old less when that started happening. It was just it was a nightmare. Learned from it though. And I learned how to structure that for that not to happen. And thankfully, since that was the primary force. I'm like, I am never going to allow myself to be in that position again. And it made me get better. And it ended up where I'm at today. So if you've ever made a mistake, drop it in the chat too. Like, put out your biggest. I'd be curious to see if some. I won't say your names, but I'd be curious to see some of your biggest mistakes in what happened. So that's the main thing. It's very simple. There's 4 main roles. Not everybody has to do everything. Okay. And you can replace it. The easiest thing for you to do as an owner is start holding on to a good employee turned bad for too long. Yes. Hell yeah. And we'll talk about this. You got to hire slowly and fire quickly. The problem is firing is painful because who's got to absorb that work quite often? You. So we put that shit off and it just gets worse. That cancer grows. So yeah, big thing there. So yeah, let's talk about, hey, where do we find these trainers? Some of you too generous of a comp plan. Yeah. Backfires like crazy, man. It's like you stick your neck out, you give something and then it turns into entitlement, which is fucking crazy. Having a trainer run group class when it isn't their specialty. Absolutely. Right seats, right bus. Absolutely. Okay. So some of you do need to hire and cast out polls. And I want you to dig your well before you're thirsty too. Because what happens? You might lose somebody. You're like, oh shit, I got to hire somebody this week. And what happens? Your pool of candidates is this small. And what you have to do is hire somebody very quickly because it's very painful, which means you only interview 3 to 5 people. And the first person with a pulse who doesn't sound like a moron, you're like, let's go. Let's get you going. But that isn't what gets you to the next level. Okay. Now, you don't need everybody to be mayor status because they can't. Not everybody's that rock star. Not everybody's that rock star, and that's okay. But they should be good in their specific role. Right. Not everybody can be a rock star. That would kind of be a nightmare in a place, but you need them good in their specific role. So I like to hire somebody, if I just need to fill hours for training, cool. I'm going to try and find that person. If I eventually want to find a mayor to take over what I'm doing inside of a gym, I'm going to look for something that's got potential for that too. But hire for what you need. Where to find them? Indeed is really good. I, to this day, still have not paid for Indeed. You just have to find the right options to put a free listing out there. But every time I've done it, I've gotten dozens of listings. Now I'm in Phoenix, so there's a lot of people. You may have to pay on that. You may not. But I've done really well with the free thing. Other sources, NASM, NESM, since I'm old school and I say NASM, I used to say they have internship programs. Contact them. They've got people who get certified, and then they're looking for an internship. Now, those people are a little bit more green, right? But that's not a bad thing. You don't have to untrain a whole ton of crappy habits or egos or the grizzled veterans who are not coachable at all. So sometimes green can be good. Green can be good. And if they're coachable, damn, let's go. Specialty schools. So there's GCU around us. They offer a 2-year associate degree for personal trainers. So you're going there. The problem that we have within our industry is some people, it's a hobby, but they don't want to make it a career, right? Now that's fine if it's some part-time stuff, but you want somebody who this is what they want to do and they're behind it as a career. So those specialty degrees are going to school for that. NPTI, this is a big, I think it's like $6,000 and maybe 6-ish months or something like that. They're going into it for a career. So those are really good sources to connect. And these are free. Like you just call these people up, talk to them, send me some people, right? They're trying to get their people hired too. It's a win-win. It's like a placement program, right? Shane, we had a mayor that we kept for years. He was the only one we've lost in the last 4 or 5 years of a mayor. And it's because he had a kid and they decided to move to Wisconsin, where they had a baby they wanted to raise around her family. So that's a lifestyle decision. But he came from the NESM internship, believe it or not. So the internship programs are really good. There's no reason you can't run your own internship program and have people come in and do a lot of shadowing and maybe an hour or two of training in the week, because time is important. You want to be around these people for an amount of time. It's like dating, man. You can be anybody you want to be on those first couple dates. Anybody, right? My wife, if you've got a wife, she probably watches murder shows all the time. That's a fact, right? I mean, that's what happens. They don't date murderers who go around with knives and start chopping people up. They go into that relationship. They're a totally different person. And over time, the red flags start appearing. And if you don't fire them right away, you're going to get murdered. So that's what happens. Not the kindest metaphor, but you get where I'm going with that. So internship programs, especially these schools, really good. Have you ever asked your employees? Your trainers know other trainers. Fact. Okay. They probably worked at another place before they worked at yours. They know people too. Clients also may know people. Social media posts, just put it out there. A lot of us, we need to hire, but don't really put it out there. Put it out there. There's Facebook groups. The NASM Facebook group alone has, what is that, Dave? Was it like 13 or 14,000 people in it?
I believe so. I think it's 13,000.
It's a shit ton. Post it. If you're hiring, just go in there and post. It's free. It's going to get in front of thousands of people, and chances are somebody's going to be in your area, or they know somebody who is. So the bottom line is it does take effort to find people. But again, if I boil any of my successes down to one thing, it's people. I am not shit without Dave. I'm not shit without Josh. We can't move forward. So if you spend the time to find the right people, yeah, that's where it's at. Same goes for my coaches. I hire coaches and I join mentorships and masterminds all the time. It's just another who, right? They're my peers, or maybe they're above me too, but I need people on both ends. I need my equivalents. I need partners. I need mentors, and I need employees. I need all three to move forward. When it comes to interviewing, don't sell too hard. Don't wait. You don't want to be desperate going into that interview. Like I said, if you need somebody by Monday, man, you could get lucky, but you could also make a bad mistake. What I'd rather see you do is touch a lot of different people and Give it time. You want them to come to your location multiple times. Multiple times. So you get a feel, are they showing up late? Can they hold small talk with a client that's warming up on a treadmill, right? Can they make conversation with other employees? How do they act? Do they clean up after themselves, right? How are they dressed? All those things are super important because a lot of red flags will come out very early with your shitty candidates. So I want you to touch base with a lot of people, and I want you to spend time, hire slowly with that. So, but if we look, okay, we know where to find these trainers. I want you to write some compelling ad scripts. Okay. You can see corporate is underlined in red. Don't be overly corporate. Bring some of your brand personality into it, your personal personality into it. Corporate is not a word, but I'm using it. I hate giant corporations. It's just so sucking and horrible. And most of us write our ads to hire like a corporate. Requirements are XYZ and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to get excited over you over the next place. Okay. So you really want to have this compelling, right? Try to overcome objections. If they're going to walk into like personal trainers, one thing is that personal trainers are hesitant, even though they're not happy maybe where they're at and they want to go somewhere else. It might have taken them a year to build a book of business there, right? And get enough clients because they're get basically paid per session. So the fear of going somewhere else is like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to take a big pay cut to like start coming out ahead on it. And so that prevents people from doing that. So if they're going to walk into a book of business, if they're going to walk into a set amount of hours or something, put that in there because that's an objection a lot of them are going to have. Okay. So I want if overcome any objections in there. If there's a big box employer that people hate to work for around there, shitty pay, like make sure you're calling that out, right? Make sure you're calling that out. Be specific about your needs. If you're hiring somebody that's got to start at 5 a.m., put it in there. Put it in there because the people who aren't willing to do it won't apply. If you don't put it in there, people could have an interview. They might like working there and then they'll say yes. And then they're showing up at 5:30 every day. So be very specific to weed out the people who is not a good fit for exactly what you're hiring for. Okay. Again, throwing personality into it, throw in there, hey, you're not a good fit if you like to bring a huge gallon jug with you everywhere you go and blah, 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 blah. Like if you don't want the grizzled meathead super bodybuilder guy, like if you have to go to the bathroom to take your supplements in private, right? And like, don't apply here. Like put that stuff in there. It's funny. It'll bring personality in and you'll attract the right people, right? If you think people suck sometimes, you don't want to put up with their stuff, like whatever, don't apply here. You feel free to do that, guys. Like bring some personality to it because that's what people want to work for. Like they want to work with a human. They don't want to work for a global corp, right? So you want to have good ad scripts for it. And then like I said, I want you to evaluate a lot of people quickly. Here's the problem. If you're running a gym, you're probably training clients, you're doing admin, you're doing sales, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're working all over the place. And if you're hiring a coach or a trainer, chances are they're doing that wherever they're working right now. And so the issue is that for you guys to align and come together at an appointed time, right, that works for the both of you while you're working and they're working is hard, right? It's hard to align the schedules. And therefore, what we do is we only have 3 or 4 or 5, and then we hire the first one with a pulse. That's normal. I don't want you doing that. So what I do, like on Indeed, now these are old ones, so I can't show you exactly how I do it on here. It's because these are paused. But what I do is I have some templates that I have built in there. So I'll have my ad copy, of course. Then I'll have follow-up templates that will automate a link, and you can do just a 10-minute Zoom call. And it will automatically check your schedule to see if you're available. They'll get to choose from it, and you can connect via Zoom. You could do phone call, but why do I want to do Zoom? Have you ever had a candidate show up and you're like, nope. As soon as they walk in the door, you're like, fuck no. And now you've kind of set like a 45-minute interview right there. Dude, that's soul sucking. And you don't want to be a total jerk. So you kind of like bide your time and then just shoo them out. Avoid that. Avoid that. That's why you hire the 4th person no matter what, because you're like, I can't keep doing this. Yeah, discovery call, exactly. So like the cool thing is bam, 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 it's all automated. Now I'm on Zoom with this guy and I can see what they look like. I can see how they talk. I can see if they have teardrop tattoos on their face, right? Legitimately has happened before. So you can evaluate a lot of people very quickly. And then I have a next step, right? Congratulations on moving forward to the next step in the interview process. And then in this case, I shoved it to somebody else because I was helping in this process. But whatever it is, next step is I want to have you come in, get a sense of how you interact with clients, something like that, blah, blah, blah. But it speeds up the process and allows you to evaluate pretty quickly. And the cool thing is you might have somebody who are like, holy shit, this person is a mayor. But I'm only looking for part-time right now in the early mornings or in the evenings. This is not the role for them. That's okay, guys. A no right now doesn't mean a no forever. And this is where you can get really safe, because if somebody leaves, sometimes you're jumping in there taking 20 hours on the floor and you're just stuck in this cycle. Build your bench, right? You think the Chicago Cubs are ever going to have a problem filling a pitcher spot? No. They've got AAA that they call up. They've got AA that they call up. They've got single A, like everything. You can get called up. They have a really deep bench, right? You can do the same thing. We just had this, Dave. Like, who did we put in Desert Ridge when we lost Shane after however, like 5 years?
Yeah, one of our partners' partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Travis has filled in for us here and there. Like, we wanted to hire him full time, but we don't have many vacancies ever for our big positions. We didn't have anything big enough for Travis. We did not have anything big enough for Travis. But when Shane vacated that seat, brother, we got the role big enough for you. We've got the role big enough for you. And we brought him in as a partner. And it was that easy. It was a few phone calls. We got it in line. Most of us don't have a deep bench, and that's why we get in deep shit. And that's why we make bad hiring decisions. Build that bench. And again, any questions, just throw them in the chat too, because I will see them and I can answer them too. So if you have any questions specifically, throw them in there, whether I answer them now or I wait for a few minutes. I had the pleasure of getting to spend a day and a half with Jeff Hoffman. So Jeff Hoffman, if you don't know him, he is the founder of booking.com and priceline.com. And that company is bigger than like all the major US airlines combined. I had no idea it was that gigantic. It's freaking amazing. The fact that I got to spend a day and a half with him was unreal. I can't even believe he agreed to come to the group. And I learned a lot from him. And it confirmed a lot of the things that I've learned over the years too. I'm like, okay, I was on to something. But he has built, and it's not just that. Like, he's built a record label. He's built so many things. A serial entrepreneur. Andy would love to see the Indeed ad scripts and settings as well as the email and follow-up templates. Good point. Okay, those, we haven't announced it yet, but we have an entire Legends University that we're about a week or two away with everything. We're talking paid ad stuff, organic ad stuff, all the scripts, the how-tos, hiring, this, that, the other, boom, 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 boom. All our scripts are going to be in there. You're going to get access to that within a week or so. Good question, Andy. And okay, so yeah, hire good people first who take pride in their work over people who have an impressive resume or they're very talented. Like, hire good people. Josh, you're on board because of that. Now, you're talented too, don't get me wrong. But when we were talking like with you and me and Dave and Will, and we're like, what makes the community so awesome in PT Legends? It's just like, it's the good people. And anytime I've hired somebody because I'm like, wow, they can do this job, but it just wasn't that right cultural fit. There was just something off. It has never worked out.
Yeah, I even said to you guys, I had 3 offers. So I had been out of work for a little bit with my daughter being sick and everything, and I had 3 offers. And of those 3, one of the things that really stood out about Scott and Dave is like they had been by my side the entire time while my daughter was sick. And as I was looking at these offers and everything, I came up with a very important question. And it was, who do I want to have a beer with? And of everybody, I was like, I want to have a beer with Dave and Scott the most. So I took that offer, and man, am I glad that I did. So everybody write that down in your job qualifications. Do I want to have a beer with this guy?
Absolutely. I go by that too. You said that. I'm like, that's so true. Who do I actually want to spend time with? Because I tell you what, Dave, you sent an awesome video in our PT Legends group. And it was like, it's not so much the destination. You hear it's not the destination, it's the journey. Well, Dave brought it to like, no, it goes beyond that. Yeah, the destination, okay. The journey, yeah. It's who you go on with on that journey. That's the most important thing. And I'm like, fuck, that's it. That means the world to me. Like, entrepreneurship is like jumping out of a plane and building your parachute on the way down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. And you want to do that with people that you trust, that you click with, that you want to go on this journey with. And it is so important. You nailed it in that. Like, fuck, you're right. That's what makes it so fun, because it's hard. It's not all easy, right? But man, when you're doing it with people that are truly amazing, you want to be on this journey with, that's what makes it so fun and so rewarding. So yeah, they've got to be a good fit with your culture. Your culture is your values, essentially. If they're not, it's not going to work out. And every time it's missed the mark for me, if I didn't follow that rule. And that's the beer test, right? And if possible, share your pie with the rock stars. Now, if you just have one location you want to do, you don't necessarily have to do that. But having partners, turning employees into partners where they have skin in the game, they get a piece of and it doesn't always have to be equity partner. It could be profit sharing, right? That's a way to own a piece of the pie and protect yourself too. But if possible, if you can share some of that with your rock stars, not everybody, but your rock stars who want to develop the business, that's how you go to the moon. That's how I've been able to do multiple locations and avoid meltdowns and things like that. I have people that we're all moving together, and they have skin in the game too. Very important. Other things that I like, little nuggets that I picked up from him is, hire good people who take pride in their work over talented people, right? They must be a fit for your culture without exception. If possible, share the pie with your rock stars. And again, back to that umbrella metaphor. If you can help them achieve everything they want in their lives under the same umbrella, right? They will treat your business like their business. And it's very important. We're all trying to get things out of it. It can't just be about buying your shit so your lifestyle enhances. How can you help them achieve their dreams as well? Connect those dots. Sometimes it's simple as just connecting the dots, learning more about them, where they need to go. Do they want to buy a house? Do they want to do this? Do they want to do that? We'll talk about that. Because then you can help build a bridge backwards. If we know where they're going, you can help build a bridge backwards and show how you can do this in your vehicle, which is pretty cool. And when evaluating people, there's kind of three things that you want to look for and ask yourself. So number one, can they do the job? They could be a great person, but maybe they don't have the aptitude to do it, right? Sometimes you see this in sales. You can teach a lot of people sales, but some people will have a ceiling to it. They just don't have that natural aptitude. But can they do it? Doesn't mean can they do it right now, because you can teach a lot of things. But can they do it? Another big one is, do they want to do it? Just because they can do it and they kill it doesn't mean they want to do it. If they don't want to do that specific role, don't put them in that seat. Don't put them in that seat, because they're not going to be happy. And that's really important for you to keep them for a long period of time. And then third is, does it meet their financial needs? Short-term and long-term, right? Sometimes when you hire somebody, it's not going to be totally full-time. Are they okay with that, right? And then long-term, will it meet financial needs? So those are three very important. You got to be in the center of this Venn diagram. If you're missing one of them, I guarantee you can think like, okay, yep, I hired that person and I was missing that circle and it didn't work out well. They were in and out 6 months. So think about ones where you've missed one of those. I can think of a bunch. Like I said, I've made more mistakes than most have. Must have when you hire them. You want a detailed position contract. Andy, this is going to be in there too. So you're going to get this in the Legends University. So you'll get all of my contracts for trainers, coaches, mayors. You can fill in the amounts for sales commissions, this, that, the other. Okay. So you definitely want to have detailed position contracts so your expectations are met. We all know what it's like when you want to try and change things later down the road. When you don't set the expectations up front, it's harder to change behavior. When you have it all squared away up front, it's pretty easy, actually. It's just hard to work back from some things. We all know the employees where we kind of feel sometimes like the inmates are running the asylum, right? Because we let things slip a little bit too much. It's hard. So that's great. We've all made those mistakes, but let's get detailed position contracts outlining everything. Stuff that should be in there. Like they should be making posts and promotions on social media. They should, right? They should do that as part of their job. I understand not everybody is going to in certain circumstances, or they might refuse under certain circumstances, but everybody should be promoting your brand. If you look at the big guys, if you look at Orange Theories and this, they all do that. They all do that. It helps out. And like Jeff Weineck, like he started with us and we have an organic acquisition system, literally where you can acquire clients from posts and emails. He did it and had, was it Dave, 2 or 3 of other guys do it? Other employees, 2?
Yeah, he has 2 female coaches, Tina and Jessica, and I mean, he almost gets to step out of everything. He gets so many leads from those 2. So, but it also goes back to Scott, like they really enjoy putting it out there.
Mhm.
So, Chris, who just joined in on the call, perfect example. We built out his strategy for all 7 of his teammates. So he has 7 employees, and a couple of them they just do the bare minimum, but he has 2 or 3 members that they really want to promote. So talking about a way in a world where it's hard to bring in leads, if you can have everyone on your team giving them, KPIs for outreaches, content, and one of the guys does the bare minimum, but I think they picked up a transformation client last month. Chris did. So it just goes to show you, just building in that into like, hey, these are the non-negotiables. Good grief. It's a real easy way to add 5 to 10 PCs a month.
Oh God, yeah. And what they sell it for is insane. It'll change your business. Jeff, I mean, he's in a town of like 10,000 some, out of St. Louis, like outside of St. Louis, right? Obviously. And he doesn't do any paid ads. Between him and his 2 employees, he brings in high ticket clients like clockwork because he's multiplying that through his people. So, but again, when he started with us and we got this whole structure together, cool. Hey, I'm doing this. Here's what we're all going to do. Setting the expectation. Bam. Guy doesn't even have to do paid ads. It's pretty amazing. And the revenues he's pulling out of a town of 10,000, shit, that's impressive. So anyways, hire slow, fire fast. We talked about that. You need to see them over multiple periods of time. Like you can do the Zoom thing, right? Then have them come in, have them take over the end of a workout maybe, or something like that. Last 5 or 10 minutes, see how they do, see how they interact with people. Have them come hang out and do some shadowing, right? Hire slow, fire fast. When you can see there's red flags, there's a cancer, you need to have a conversation. And if you don't see what you need to see, you need to fire it fast because that cancer can turn into a really, really nasty thing if you don't take action. Listen to your gut, not your optimism. I am very guilty of this, guys. I like to see the good in people and their potential, and I look through rose-colored glasses. Sometimes I overlook certain things that are kind of red flags because my optimism overrides that. Even though in my gut, I'm like, there's just something off. But I'm like, I'm optimistic, so let me ignore that and just go. And it's backfired every single time. So do listen to your gut. Don't look through rose-colored glasses. Like if they don't have all 3 of these, it's the do they want to do it is the one you really got to pay attention to. That is really important. You can just get a feeling. If they're not really excited about it, it's probably not going to work out. So listen to your gut, not your optimism, and avoid conflicts of interests. Okay. So this is where like I've seen it happen all the time. There's a trainer, he's got 5 clients of his own, and you're like, cool, you can train them for free here and you work for us. And then a lot of times we don't say anything and spell anything out. And then they start adding to that clientele. And all of a sudden they're running their business inside of your business. And all of a sudden, since they're making 3 times as much on those sessions, they start putting your clients at the back burner. And it's a whole nightmare. So you really want to look and talk about these things. It's really hard to mix a renter and an employee trainer too. there needs to be a different solution on that one. I won't get into the weeds on that one. I could do a whole nother thing on that, and that's going to be in the university. Let's talk about comp plans. Comp plans. And hey, how do you create, you're welcome, Andy. How do you create a career instead of just a job? This is what keeps us up at night. It's like, hey, I really want my people to make this a career so they can be here long term, so they can afford a house and pay for their family. And there's a lot of different things that has to be there to make.
Oh, you went on mute, Scott.
Whoops. There we go. One of you guys said that you overcompensated people. That happens. You can pay too much because you're like, man, this person is worth it. They're like, they can just come in and crush it. And then all of a sudden they don't appreciate it. They work less and less, and it just spoils it. Same thing with salaries. You know, I've taken somebody on a salary who was like the mayor at this point. Okay. I took her off of paid per session and stuff and sales commissions, and I just kind of put her on a salary because, hey, that's awesome for her family. But then I watched her hand off like 5 clients, you know, at this point. And it's like, cool, now I'm paying double pay. Like, you can screw it up so much. So in certain circumstances, salaries do okay for like a mayor or something like that. But I like a low salary and a high percentage of a payout based on how they're doing and what the business looks like.
Dude, let me tell you about one on kind of on those marks. So I had a head coach, and we sat down, we figured out his client load and everything, and then I replaced his client load with salary so he could come on full time, have more security and everything. And then I wasn't paying attention. He was very clear, hey, this is replacing this. You don't charge me for this anymore. He continued to charge me for like 2 to 3 months. And I looked at it, you know, and I was like, man, this seems high, but didn't think much of it because, like, no big deal, right? Second month it happens, and I'm like, okay, this still looks high, but, you know, and then he took on a few more. So now the third month, it was huge amount of money I owed him. And now I've let it go for 3 months. So, right, I feel like the asshole. So then I go and sit him down and like, you're not supposed to be charging me anymore. Like, we replaced this for you to do this job. Yeah, and it cost me a fortune. Thankfully, he actually was like pretty cool about it and understood. But man, I was like, now I've got a tough conversation. I've got all this going on, and it's just cost me a fortune on that.
Yeah. And oh yeah. And so that's why it's got to be spelled out very quickly. And you got to have those tough conversations fast. So Shane, who I mentioned, that was who was our mayor for years, I nearly let him go. He came in from that NASM internship. It was just very lackluster. And I had a tough conversation with him about it. And that is not meeting expectations. And and he was just doing training at this point. And he was very early on. And then he was a different person after that. I thought I was going to have to let him go. I'll give anybody the benefit of the doubt. So I had that hard conversation. Now it's up to you. He fucking turned that thing around and then ran that thing for years and did phenomenal. It was amazing. Now that doesn't always happen. A lot of times you had the conversation, then, well, we got to go a different direction. But you will get surprised on that if you nip it in the bud early. Okay. So you can do a salary, but be careful with that. Most of a salary, like if they're the mayor or GM, it should be based on performance. And there's ways that you can do this on gross revenue. There's ways you can do this on profit. Dave, when you were on, you had a small base and you had a good chunk in profit sharing. And I paid you out like an owner and you were making over 6 figures, dominating, crushing it. Badass. I didn't go there for like 3 years probably, right, Dave?
Something like that. One time when I ran the joint, one time in like 6 years.
I didn't have to. He was a freaking rock star, and I shared the piece of the pie. Right. And then he became a partner later, which is pretty cool. But another ways you can do it too, because you have to be careful with salaries, is like, hey, the delivery of the workouts, when you take on these sessions or these hours, you get paid on that one. If you're doing the nutrition coaching or mentorship, you get paid for that. On the sales end, you might be getting 10% commission or whatever. And maybe you pay them a base to handle some of the admin stuff. There's different ways you can do it. A lot of it's dependent on who that person is too. There's no one best way to do it. Your business model it plays a role in that too. So I would suggest different solutions based on if you're group, semi, PT, a mixture. I need to see the whole piece before I could say, hey, do it this way, more than likely. But there's a few different ways you can go. Again, that'll be in the university, Andy. Remember, we want 30 to 50% net profit margins. This is how you build big, sexy profits. If you're still working full time in there, you can get 50% plus net profit. Okay. If you have a mayor and you're really out of there, it might be 30, a little bit higher, a little bit lower than 30, but 30 to 50% net profit is where I want you at, And I want you to have your business developers that take your role, that those mayors, whether they're an equity partner or not, I want them getting paid a lot. To do that, though, you got to have everything working together. You have to have the right recipe to be able to maintain those profit margins. A topic for another day is we use overlapping personal training, which allows us to make really high percentages and pay out our people less. But because they're working with multiple people, they end up making a lot more than everybody else too. Like this trainer's doing 100 PT sessions a week with this model. So he's probably making like 80, 90 grand, but we're making like probably 72-3% profit margin on him, which is awesome. It's a huge win-win. We need less employees that get paid way more. And that's a big recipe to scale. So bottom line is, guys, this is a component to get those big, sexy profits and buy your time back. Team is everything. So big, sexy profits, okay, is the first step. Number 2, shield your money, right? Number 3, invest in assets. And then you can build wealth and have your money make money and just live that life of freedom that we all got into business in the first place for. Okay. But take it one step at a time. For those of you on, like, if you're stuck at number 1, big, sexy profits, or you need help in 2 or 3, like you're going to have a bottleneck somewhere. Figure out your bottleneck. You can drop it in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or in the Zoom, just chat. Just drop a comment like legend in there. Or what you can do too is if you can drop this link in both, Josh, there you go. ptlegends.com/schedule. You can hop on a quick 15-minute call. We're going to figure out what your bottleneck is, and we will give you a route to fix it. Okay. So we have tons of free trainings that we can hook you up with. Some of you are going to want to move faster in this one, like really fast. You can change your entire life in a year, 6 to 12 months. And you can build a life where you can be a decamillionaire in 3 to 5. It's no joke. It's exactly what I've done. So, but if you hop on the call, 15 minutes, it's not a sales call, guys, obviously. In 15 minutes, we'll either A, hook you up the right resources to overcome that barrier. And if you want to chat with us more about our program, we have 2 different kinds of programs. One where we work with you for 8 to 12 weeks, and it's an express program, and we just go to the moon, fix your bottlenecks. Or we have a year-long mastermind where we are going to build you the business like we have. Either way, don't care, okay? But you'll get your resources, and if you want to learn more, we'll have to schedule a different call because it's only 15 minutes. So don't be afraid, guys. It is not a sales call. Schedule up, chat with us. Let's help you move to the next stage. Shoot, that was a long one since it's staff. Did I miss anything, guys, Dave or Josh, or anybody on the call? Do you have any other questions? And don't hop off yet, because I will cut this recording. And then if you want to talk to me privately, no recordings, none of this public, I'm here to help. I usually reserve the next 30 to 45 minutes to do that. And know that every single Thursday, 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST, if you want to chat with me after, off the record, no recording, hang on afterwards. I'll be here for 30 to 45 minutes after every single call. And I don't care if it's questions related to what we talk about this week or it's something totally different. You have a lead problem. Cool. Hang on afterwards. We'll talk about it. Make sense? Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut the recording now. And if you got private stuff to talk about, let's hash it out. So let me stop this. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 a month or more this month by making more money with less clients and create a consistent flow of high-quality leads, you can learn about what it's like to work with me and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. And if you got any value out of this episode, please pay it forward and leave a review for this show. It helps other gym owners find the answers to the huge problems that we all share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.